Hey, so I am really excited because today's the day where I get to review my favorite pen, my favorite fountain pen that I've pretty much ever used. Um, it's basically been my everyday carry for the past year at least, I'd say. I bring it everywhere every single day. I am really glad that I get to share this review with you, and I hope that you guys end up loving this pen as much as I do. With that being said, let's talk a little bit about the Pilot Justus. Um, so first off, I want to say that this pen retails somewhere from like $300 to $400, maybe $350, something like that. That's retail, of course. That is obviously a little steep. I'll say that I did not get it for that price. I got it for significantly cheaper than that. I bought it on Amazon, and they tend to have really good deals on their fountain pens. I know a lot of people can sometimes be hesitant about purchasing certain pens on Amazon, and I'd probably be hesitant about buying purchasing a Mont Blanc, something like that on Amazon. But I'm pretty confident when I buy my pilots. I buy most of my pilots on Amazon, and I've never had any problems with them. So I got this pen on Amazon. I have the box, but it's really the traditional kind of Pilot understated box. I will say that the cover, it was a silver kind of textured cover, and that was pretty nice. Otherwise, I was a little bit kind of underwhelmed by the Pilot Justus 95's box because it was supposed to be an anniversary pen. So I thought that they might spice up the box a little bit. They didn't. So I'm not going to really show you the box or anything. So let's jump into the pen. I just dropped it. We'll start off just by looking at the overall shape. You can see that it's got some flat ends on the cap as well as the end of the body. It basically is kind of, cylindrical in shape. It is black. Mine is black. I don't believe they come in any other colors. And it has these 3 gold bands. 1, 2, 3. One that attaches the clip to the top of the cap. It's got that traditional band that comes in most of the Pilot custom line. And then it's got a tiny little band here at the end. Now, what really sets this Justus apart in terms of, and it might be hard to pick up, so let's see. So you can kind of see it. So what sets this apart from the Heritage line, the custom line, is that it's got these long striations that go down the entire length of the body. And I'm trying to get, there we go. So you can see that. It adds a very nice texture to the body. I really like that. I really like the way that they did this. And you can see it reflecting in the light there, all the tiny little vertical lines that go down there. That extends all the way from the base all the way to the top of the cap. And it isn't, those striations aren't present past the clip, and they aren't present past this line here. Otherwise, the whole body has those long vertical lines. You can kind of see it shimmering in the light there. So I really like the texture. You can hear it. So I really like the texture that it gives this pen. It makes it really nice. It's kind of like almost an extra grip if you're holding it. Sometimes you'll have a pen, it's slippery, but if you're just holding it out and about, then it feels like it's not going to fall out of your hand or drop out really easily, which is something you definitely don't want for a pen that can cost this much. And we'll take a look at the cap. So you see that the cap has this nice clip on it. It's a very sturdy clip. It's got a nice spring back to it. That's not going to come out of your pocket. It doesn't have the ball on the end like some of the custom lines do. It kind of has this, I don't know, almost torpedo shape. It starts out pretty wide and triangular up here at the top, and it's got 3 little upside down triangles. I think it's 3. 1, 2, 3. Yep. Up here at the top of the cap. So you can kind of see that. And then it kind of tapers down here in the middle before getting a little bit wider again down here at the base where it's actually going to do the clipping. It's very sturdy, like I said. This is gold to match the other accents of the pen. And then on top, it doesn't have any like decorations or anything like the Pilot 845. There are no gold fittings on either end there. It's just solid black. You can see again that it attaches to the ring that pretty much extends the entire circumference of the pen. So that's our cap. And then the second band down here, it says Pilot Japan, Justus 95. It doesn't have stars on it like the other custom line. I know the custom line tends to have 2 or 3 stars on this band. It doesn't. This one just has the solid, the words. Mine is heavily used, so it's a little bit faded a tiny bit, but you'll see Justus 95, Pilot Japan, and then the tiny little ring right above that right there. So that's the cap. And then what we can talk about is basically the balance. This pen is very well made. I think they did a great job on this pen. Even when it's capped, it feels like a very nice, sturdy pen. You know, I've handed it off to people before, and they've actually commented on that, like, wow, this pen feels really good in your hand. So with this, we'll go ahead and open it up. You can kind of see inside of the cap, nothing really exciting. There aren't those like extra features that a lot of pens are putting in these days to try and save the ink. So just pretty much the inside of the cap with the threads. And so then we'll take a look at the pen itself. So you can see that we've got our threads right here, and we've got another gold band right after the threads. Then the section is pretty long. It goes from about here to about here, so it's about that long. However, this doesn't have that kind of elongated, the long texture, the little ridges that extend there. This is a smooth one. And then you'll also note that in this, it's kind of, you can see that there are some tinier ones. There are tinier vertical striations right there. This is actually a dial that you can essentially use to adjust the softness of the nib, which I think is the selling feature of the Justus, and I think is just absolutely wonderful. So we've got that, and then the entire section is basically really comfortable in your hands. You can really hold it before you get to that dial. You can hold it on the dial. It's not uncomfortable. Or you can hold it past the dial. Now, I tend to hold it past the dial because I put the cap, I keep this cap posted, and so I tend to put my hands past the dial, and in this case it allows kind of, that's just the way I write, that's how I like it to balance in my hands. So you'll see that, and then again, this dial, what we'll talk about before we get into the nib is that this, like I said, this will spin. So that dial is adjustable. You just come and you hold the feed, and you can see right there. So you can see how this little, there's this little prong right here, and watch. So as I spin it, it's hard, I've never done it backwards. I've always looked at the nib. So you can see that, let me just get this right. So you can see that it's lowering. So it lowers all the way down. So there's that, and then now I can raise that prong, and it's essentially adding more or less tension to the nib so that the tines will either open up more and allow a greater flex, or they won't open up as much, and that creates kind of a nib that is hard rather than a soft, flexible nib. So that being said, this is a new nib. This is different than the other nibs that come in there, and it's the best nib I've ever used. Just being honest, it's a size 10, so it is reflective of the other size 10 nibs, and like I said, it's incomparable in my book. This pen lays down the perfect amount of ink. This is a fine. It lays down the perfect amount of ink. It is not scratchy at all. I have 0 modifications need to be done to this nib. You know, it was perfect right out of the box. I know that maybe that won't be the case for every single Justus that's out there, but for my Justus, this is my dream nib. Sometimes when I order pens, I say, it's people who will modify nibs and whatnot, nibmeisters. I'll say the Justus 95 Fine is my ideal nib. That's my favorite nib. So you can kind of see it in there. It is a gold nib. And so, like I said, this is a fine, and it's a 14 karat, obviously, because it's a flex nib. It has a capacity to be a flex nib. On the sides, it says Pilot Japan on one side, and on the other side, it says fine, 14 karat, 585. Something that I forgot to note is that there are kind of minor instructions, and it's hard to see here, but you can see S, and then an arrow to H, and that says if you do it in that direction, then that's how you make it go from the soft to hard nib. So that being said, so that's our nib. Again, perfect nib, perfect nib. You can see really how fine that is. If we can focus, it really does lay down a very fine point. And the section or the feed is really just that plastic feed that's pretty standard in some of the other custom lines. It does keep up with the flex. It's wonderful. So then we'll open this pen up and we'll see that it comes with that Con 70 as well. It's got silver fittings in this area. And again, it's just a standard. This is cartridge converter. You can use the cartridges in there if you want, pop out the converter. I always use bottled ink. I find that the Takasumi by Pilot, this tends to, the Iroshizuku, this tends to be my favorite ink. I put it on all my pens basically. And I've found that if the flow is perfect, it's perfect for flexing, it's perfect for everyday writing, and it's perfect in the Justus. So you can pick whichever inks you like, but since it does have the capacity to be flexed, I would recommend the a little bit inks that aren't as thick. So yep, not really much to comment on the converter there. It's just pump, and you're good to go. So with that being said, like I talked about a little bit before, the balance, I like the balance when it's capped. I think that just the way I write, I almost always post my pens unless there's really a contraindication to do so. So I hold it up about here. It's very well balanced. You can see it's a bigger pen. It is a big pen. So if you have smaller hands, it'd probably be better unposted, I would imagine. So unposted on my hands, it goes to right about there. So this is still very well balanced. This is still, it's still a good pen, or still a well-balanced pen, even if you choose not to keep it posted. I'm not as afraid, because of those little long lines, I'm not afraid of it really denting or scratching any type of the body. So yeah, I tend to keep it posted. Unposted is comfortable too. It really comes down to pretty much preference when it comes to this pen, because it's so well balanced either way. But I find when I do like the big loop letters like L's and K's in cursive, I notice that having that extra weight at the top kind of helps me flick the pen up there, and it comes back down really nice and neatly when you've got that little extra added weight on the top of the pen. So I think that covers pretty much all aspects of the pen. Again, this is my favorite pen. I carry this every single day, and I hope you guys will like it too if you end up getting it. But yeah, this is my everyday carry. This is the pen that I compare every other pen to. So that being said, this is a 10 out of 10 for me, 10 out of 10. Anyway, let's pop in, do a little writing sample. I'll show it to you on both the soft settings as well as the flex settings. And yeah, let's check it out. Thanks for watching. All right, so let's go ahead and do a writing sample. Before we begin, I'll go ahead and show you that nib up a little bit closer. So you can see that it's got that prong that will adjust in order to make the setting from a soft to firm nib. I mean, it just looks like a really sleek nib too. I mean, it just really does. And you'll see from the side, I think it looks very sleek from the side with that prong, that adjustable prong up on top. You can see the section, but yeah, Pilot Japan on one side, and then it's got the fine 14 karat 585 on the other side. So again, this is my favorite nib, so let me show you why. I have this set all the way to the firmest setting. As you can see, the prong is all the way up. So let's take a little look. So there's that. The pen was uncapped for a while, so that's why that line didn't lay down as much as the other ones. So that's the firmest setting, and let's do a crosshatch. It will still open a bit, but I don't recommend that. If you want to flex it, just turn it to the soft setting. And here it is again. And the squiggles. And in this case, let's do a wet test. So you can see that it does lay down a decent amount. And then again, if you want to go ahead and adjust the nib, you can to make it back into that soft setting. So you'll see if we want to make it soft, we just go ahead and turn it the dial all the way down. You could do it anywhere in between if you'd like. And some people say, oh, they don't really notice a difference, but depending on the paper you use, you can kind of see a difference. You really can. It does make the line width a little bit thicker or thinner, depending on how far down it is. So that's that all the way down. And you'll definitely be able to see the difference in the line width variation in the soft setting. It's kind of storming here right now. So you can see that it really is significantly thicker between the two, as you can see. And let's go ahead and do a crosshatch. And this is with the flex. That's about as far as I'd want to push it. This, semi-flex, this isn't a super flex, this isn't a real flex. It does give you nice line variation though, as you can see in here. So it doesn't really railroad, it did right there, but I've never actually had problems with railroading with this. So, you can kind of see again, let's just do a quick little full flex sample. So I'm not going to do the whole sentence because it takes a little bit longer. But you can see it can get a nice amount of flex to it there, which really adds. It can add to your writing a lot if that's something that you're interested in. Again, if you have it as a less setting, the line thickness variation will be somewhere between these two, and you can tell the difference regardless. I've seen some people say, oh, you can't really tell the difference, but you can. So anyway, that's our writing sample. Oh, let's just do real quick a wetness test. You can see it lays down a decent amount of line. That's 0 seconds, 5 seconds, 8, 9, and 10 seconds. Well, still pretty wet there. So yeah, that's the Pilot Justus 95, and it is, like I said, a wonderful nib. I couldn't be happier with it. It's my favorite everyday carry, and I hope you guys like it too. Thanks for watching.